Julia, Jörn, we're here at the end. I want to thank everyone here for being with us, many of you throughout the day. So we have a tradition. When we end, we like to kind of get a through line, how this day has gone. But Jörn, you are new now to our Troika, and we want to turn the spotlight on you first before we all give our concluding thanks. What did you take away from today?
Thank you, first of all, for making this a Troika and doing so seamlessly and effectively, and bringing 3 teams and 3 cultures together. And I will miss you on those weekly calls, faces, and the great cooperation. Look, I think the 3 sort of observations I have, through lines of the day, and hopefully you guys will agree and disagree. First, it's a sense of sort of fundamental changes and uncertainty that permeate all of these geopolitical and geoeconomic conversations, from trade to technology to European defense to even the last conversation you just had, to the transatlantic partnership writ large. And I think that is really, I think, underlying all of these discussions. Second, since we are in Brussels, Europe is at a geopolitical and geoeconomic crossroads. And I think we've heard a lot of recognition of just how daunting that change is and how much Europe has to change, but a lot of questions as well about whether Europe has the will to deliver change and to make the hard choices at the speed and the level of ambition that might be required. And then thirdly, I think, is about the transatlantic partnership or relationship. I think we've seen sort of strong signals from both sides, from the US ambassador to NATO to the EU, but also on the European side, that neither side is willing to give up on the relationship, right? Both wanted to engage, both sides want to figure out what is next, how the relationship has to change, and what to build. I think it was interesting to see different messages and expectations about that from the Americans, and this is something that Charles Litchfield in our conversation earlier sort of highlighted. The Americans pressing the Europeans to finally make those hard choices, make the changes, reform on economic competitiveness, on security, on technology, and so many more things. The Europeans, on the other side, demanding or asking for, amid all of this daunting change, asking for more stability and more certainty from the United States. So sort of a mismatch in the exact expectations, but I think that means we have our work cut out for us at the Europe Center, at the GeoEconomics Center, at the Atlantik-Brücke, to really define and shape how that relationship has to change, where we want to end up, what we want to build, and how we want to do that. And so I think those are sort of the 3 through lines I see from throughout the day.
Thank you, Jörn. Well said.
And no going back. I think Commissioner Šefčovič's point on trade, you can apply to the whole day, to the discussions on the agenda we're facing.
So, Julia, we have some thanks to do and an announcement to make about the next forum before we get to the reception, but first to you.
I guess we have to realize that there are no certainties in how we work with each other and what our careers look like and what our lives look like. When I entered the CIA and stepped on the seal and pledged allegiance to the United States of America, and the next day I got a call from the White House and said the president would like someone to explain credit default swaps. That was a different world than the one that we have now, right? And a different Europe, and certainly a different America. But there are, but I think we talked with many counterparts today how European institutions grew stronger through all those crises. Of course, the Euro crisis being one of the paradigms of that. Is that ultimately, if you think that the United States is in a little bit of an identity crisis and Europe is in a competitiveness crisis, suddenly we're going to find our way through in the middle because we need each other. I think sometimes when people argue the most and throw tomatoes at each other, or tariffs at each other, it's because one actually means it and one actually cares. You could ignore each other if you really didn't care. So I challenge you all to defy the headlines that you see, not by Bloomberg. Bloomberg's headlines are going to be great. But to really dig into the weeds and all of this stuff, because that's where the essence lies. But yes, thank you all so much for really hanging through a marathon day. I said at the beginning it was going to be high octane. We meant it, and I hope you really take a lot away from this. We have, of course, some partners to thank, who, of course, made this day possible. To EY, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan,
Lufthansa Group, PPF Swift, and of course Bloomberg, our media partner for the event, who's been with us from the beginning in 22. And when we created this event in 22, we really thought the US, EU, the economic partnership was important. But what we say now, given what's happened in the past year, that was nice to have these events where we did this bilateral coordination and conversation about these pillars and frictions and challenges. It's a must-have going forward. We have to have this dialogue and conversation in this community we've all built together at the Transatlantic Forum. So I thank you all for being part of it. I also want to thank our teams. As much as this conference is our vision here, it's the vision of Iveta Krumo, who's standing in the back and has built this. So please give her a round of applause. Zach Tarrant, the entire audiovisual team, my team at the GeoEconomics Center, Bart Piasecki, Jesse Yin, Heather Coonan, I know your team at Atlantik-Brücke, Julia, Jörn, your team at Europe Center.
Do they all stand up and come up?
Please.
Yeah,
and
please come out. Before
we do our final toast and we'll get everyone to the reception, we want to announce where next year's forum will be, as is our tradition. So, the 5th annual Transatlantic Forum, if we can get this up on screen, will be in Miami, December 2026, on the sidelines of the G20 Leaders Summit. The Atlantic Council is proud to be the T20 lead next year, convening think tanks around the world in our role, leading the Think Tank 20. And so we will be in Miami for a Transatlantic Forum unlike any other in December 2026. We hope you join us. Please join us for the reception. Thank you for being with us.